Now, I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I was telling you about. Right, because P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. I did. See, I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you.
You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot.
Let's go buy some shit tomorrow. Come on, I'm with you. Let's go. All right.
Yes, sir. Man, you doing it, man. You deserve it, Daddy. You putting in that work. Proud of you. I love you.
But I'm talking about for your birthday.
Huh?
Why won't you party with me for your birthday, man?
We partied for my birthday before. You came to my party.
No, but me and you ain't never really party, you know what I'm saying? Eyes, brother.
Oh, man.
Eyes. I understand. You know what I'm saying?
Sean Love Combs, better known as P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, and many other aliases, is unquestionably one of the biggest, richest, and most powerful moguls, not just in the music industry, but in Hollywood as a whole. If you've been alive anywhere from the 90s up until now, you've most certainly at least heard of Diddy, and if not him, you've definitely heard of his artists. With close ties to Biggie, Usher, Chris Brown, Travis Scott, Beyonce, Justin Bieber, the list goes on. The wealth and power of a man of Diddy's stature is unimaginable to the vast majority, an amount of influence that could make a person feel like they could do anything, and even worse than that, get away with it. In light of the recent allegations, P. Diddy has shown to be, if proven guilty, easily one of the most depraved men in Hollywood, with many likening him to being the Jeffrey Epstein of the entertainment industry. Involving numerous A-list celebrities, multiple shootings and murders, wild drug-induced orgy parties, and sex trafficking of a demographic that would get this video age restricted immediately, this Diddy lawsuit is one of the most heinous cases I have ever read. Cases like these are a grim look into what really goes on behind the scenes in Hollywood. Just how far the rich and powerful are able to go when nobody has the ability to speak out or stop them. This is a full, complete breakdown of Diddy's story in light of recent allegations. Now, to start this off, I want to make clear that this video's intent is to mainly focus on Diddy's ongoing lawsuit, but I do think it is necessary to at least go over his life and career before these charges. Obviously, Diddy is already pretty famous, so I'm going to keep this section brief, but I think it's important everyone at least gets a refresher on how influential he has been in multiple avenues, really since the early 90s. Diddy was born in Harlem into an impoverished single-parent household in 1969, making him 54 as of the time of this recording. Diddy started off in the New York music scene, putting on artists like Notorious B.I.G. and later Usher, also having a successful music career himself, going #1 on multiple songs and albums. Diddy would also go on to found his own record label called Bad Boy Records in the 90s, signing various rap and R&B acts such as Faith Evans, Lil' Kim, Boyz II Men, and Mariah Carey. Since then, he starred in Hollywood movies, various Broadway plays, had numerous #1 albums, and was named one of the most influential people by Time magazine in 2005. And outside of entertainment, Diddy has been even more successful, with Forbes estimating he's made between $100 and $150 million every year throughout the 2010s, ranking him as the #1 richest entertainer, listing his total net worth as well over $1 billion. He's had multiple successful clothing lines, restaurants, colognes, alcohol brands. He's basically dipped his foot into everything you could imagine and was successful at all of it. So the money and power of a man like this is unprecedented, and it hasn't been just recently that Diddy has abused this. Diddy has had suspicion in his character ever since the death of both Biggie and Tupac, where, while never officially charged, he's always been conspired to have played some sort of role in the killings. In 1999, he pled guilty to assault on then-president of Interscope Records, Steve Stouts, where he beat him with a chair, telephone, and champagne bottle, all because he didn't like how he was depicted in a music video. A year later, Puff and then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez were also found with a firearm in a New York club that had just been shot up up at. While neither were found guilty for the shooting, at least at the time, which I'll get into later, it was a strange coincidence nonetheless. These are just a couple of the long list of violent charges Diddy already had prior to what's going on now with him. It wouldn't be until 2017 that these charges started to take a more sexual tone, where a private chef of Diddy's reported that she would be forced to serve him quote-unquote post-sex meals while he was still naked, as well as working long hours, sometimes without pay. This also seems to be a common thread among people who have worked with Diddy, often getting paid very little for much work. Then in 2023, as sort of a kickoff to everything that's transpiring now, longtime ex-wife Cassie Ventura filed a massive lawsuit against her ex-husband, claiming years of sexual abuse and downright torture. She alleged all throughout their 11-year relationship she had been raped, beaten, drugged, and made to perform sex acts with male sex workers, all while Diddy filmed and pleasured himself. This all started when the two met in 2005 when Cassie was 19 and Diddy was 37, which right off the bat should raise some red flags. He lured her into a fast-paced, dangerous lifestyle induced with excessive drug use and sexual immorality. Diddy demanded complete control over her personal life, often beating the young woman when she didn't comply. She would also sign a record deal to Diddy's label for a whopping 10 albums, which seems to have been really less of a deal and more just a way Diddy could always be in control of her. He also required Cassie to always carry a firearm, solely to remind her of the dangerous man he is. Diddy would also literally blow up the car of fellow rapper Kid Cudi after a heated exchange in a nightclub where Diddy felt although Cudi was in some way attracted to Cassie. All throughout their relationship, Cassie tried to leave several times, but Diddy simply wouldn't let go of his grasp on her. There was one time where Cassie had felt she finally escaped Diddy until the two had dinner at her house, where she claims to have been repeatedly raped by Combs, constantly telling him no. She officially took everything to court in November of 2023, 5 years after they had officially divorced, seeking monetary compensation for her damages. Diddy would publicly deny all allegations brought up in this lawsuit, but would also simultaneously immediately pay this undisclosed settlement amount in full outside of court. Since Diddy is a colossally rich man and money is not the issue here for him, this has led many to believe that he is guilty in this and settled this out of court to avoid any criminal charges. It really is insane just how much money can do for you. And all of this leads up to this new mammoth indictment that, if proven true, would make this the single worst American conviction of the last decade, even topping Harvey Weinstein. The plaintiff of which is Little Rod, mostly referred to in this indictment as Mr. Jones, a multi-talented music producer who had been working with Diddy throughout his most recent Love album, in which for over a year he lived and worked alongside Diddy, producing a total of 9 separate songs for the album. And while working alongside a music veteran like Diddy and getting to live in a lavish LA and Miami suite would be a dream of many producers, Mr. Jones is claiming he was forced through many bizarre things that go far beyond the role of a producer. Things such as shootings, drugging, and assaulting of women both of and underage, and Mr. Jones even being sexually assaulted multiple times himself. The first of the legal activity happening on September 12, 2022, only mere days into the album process, where Diddy and a man referred to only as Mr. G had gotten into a heated exchange that ended with Diddy shooting Mr. G point blank in the groin. Jones claims to have not been in the room when it happened, but heard the gunshot, seeing Diddy leave the room with Mr. G lying there bleeding out his stomach, presumably left to die. Nobody besides Mr. Jones himself tried to help the dying man, and when the police arrived, Diddy coerced Mr. Jones to tell the cops that the shooting happened outside of the studio as a drive-by. This was all in the very first few days of Mr. Jones ever working with Diddy, and this would only be the beginning of the horrors that would eventually unfold. Mr. Jones claims to have been sexually assaulted multiple times throughout this year-long period. He claims he was often given the job as bathroom custodian, where Diddy would frequently walk around naked during. He says Diddy, while also naked, would frequently caress and fondle with Mr. Jones's anus and genitals, obviously unconsensually. Diddy showed Mr. Jones a video of someone he knew he looked up to, popular musician Stevie J, engaging in intercourse with a fellow man as a sort of way to normalize Mr. Jones to homosexuality. Diddy also informed Mr. Jones that he had intercourse with rapper Meek Mill and singer Usher, although no video or picture evidence was shown for these two. Also, speaking of Usher, he himself seems to have had a very strange relationship with Diddy as well, being indoctrinated into Diddy's flavor camp at the ripe age of 13, where he saw many things no 13-year-old should ever be seeing.
Moved to New York City. And I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you over to something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp.
Yeah,
Flavor
that's
Camp.
what it was called.
It was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place. And I didn't necessarily understand it.
After showing him the video of Stevie J, Diddy told Mr. Jones that if he had sex with him, he'd make sure he won the Producer of the Year nomination at the Grammys. Mr. Jones, however, turned down this offer, which he says visually upset Diddy. On Thanksgiving 2022, Mr. Jones would again be sexually assaulted, this time by cousin of popular rapper Young Miami. Diddy, who had been high on cocaine, ordered the young woman to go into the bathroom while Jones was in there and perform oral sex on him. Mr. Jones, not reciprocating the advances, attempted to flee, but would then get straddled by the young woman, all while in the presence of Diddy and his staff. Then, later that same night, Diddy would force Mr. Jones to snort cocaine with him and solicit with prostitutes. There was another incident on February 2nd of 2023 where Mr. Jones believed Diddy had drugged and possibly raped him, with Jones waking up dizzy and naked and in bed with two sex workers as well as Diddy. He was understandably confused and walked aimlessly around the Miami mansion until someone came and dealt with him. It was also uncovered by Jones that during these parties, Diddy would have hidden cameras in every room of his mansion that unknowingly filmed guests 24/7. Diddy had endless films of different artists, celebrities, politicians, whoever doing explicit, sometimes sexual activities that Diddy kept for his own personal pleasure, as well as blackmail on these people to keep them quiet. And due to this treasure trove of blackmail footage, Diddy felt although he was above the law and pretty much untouchable among celebrities and law enforcement. Diddy also had a certain car called Booby Trap with accompanying attire that, when seen, signaled to sex workers in the area that he was there and looking. Diddy forced Mr. Jones to constantly recruit these prostitutes, he says, as a way of having control over him. He would also promise Mr. Jones luxury items and properties to entice him, as well as threatening him with violence if he ever spoke up or didn't comply, saying he would even kill his own mother to get what he wanted. On July 2nd, 2023, there was a listening party for Diddy's Love album that had Usher and many girls under the age of 16 in attendance. Diddy would force these, frankly, children to drink alcohol laced with ecstasy to ensure they were loose and dazed. Diddy also forced Mr. Jones to drink this as well, with him again later that night waking up confused and dizzy, in bed with multiple sex workers, but this time without Diddy. And it wouldn't just be the attendees who were getting high at these parties, as Diddy himself was severely addicted to a cocktail of different substances. All employees and really anyone close to Diddy were made to keep a pouch filled with cocaine, ecstasy, marijuana, and ketamine on them 24/7, all for Diddy's consumption. Later that very month, Mr. Jones would be introduced to Cuba Gooding Jr. when on Diddy's yacht, to whom would also sexually assault him. Immediately upon meeting, Cuba would berate Jones, rubbing his thighs and anus until Jones completely snapped, throwing Cuba off of himself and exiting the room. Also, on top of being sexually assaulted multiple times by multiple different people while working on this Love album, Mr. Jones would also not even get properly compensated for his work. For 13 months of his life, thousands of hours, and production for 9 of the 27 tracks on the album, Jones was only paid $29,000. Mr. Jones would take to social media to air out his discontentment with his salary, to which he would only get threatened by Diddy and many of his people. Frequently throughout this album process, Diddy would constantly remind Mr. Jones of just how dangerous he is, brandishing multiple different illegal firearms and bragging about getting away with murder. Jones claims Diddy told him that he was in fact the one responsible for the infamous nightclub shooting with rapper Shyne, in which Shyne had been charged with a 10-year prison sentence for at the height of his career. After shooting up a New York nightclub, Diddy told Shyne that if he laid down and took the heat for the shooting, he would be rewarded handsomely, and this is what would eventually happen, with Diddy strong-arming multiple witnesses to agree with this narrative. Diddy also told him that he was the one who shot up another club with Jennifer Lopez, in which he was never found guilty for, as I said previously. And on top of getting away with murder, Jones says he had close ties to multiple local gang leaders who would frequent Diddy's home in both LA and Miami to distribute drugs and guns. Diddy would also frequently remind him about how powerful he is in the music industry as well, and how he could make Mr. Jones rich and famous, but also do the opposite if he so pleased. Basically, Diddy committed virtually every serious crime you could imagine, all while being and feeling untouchable while doing so. Diddy basically operated a gang of sorts that bought and sold drugs and firearms, trafficked sex workers and minors, and sexually harassed anyone and everyone they wished, all while filming every second of it. And even worse, Jones claims he is not even close to the first victim of Diddy's, with him purposely preying on smaller artists in the music industry to get what he wants from. Keep in mind, I've only covered 2 people's accounts with Diddy, Mr. Jones and ex-wife Cassie. There is certainly numerous others who experienced similar, but just never took it to court. I wouldn't be surprised with just how big a situation this is that we'll see something similar to the Me Too movement, with many others stepping forward with their own separate accounts with Diddy. But as of right now, Diddy has denied any and all allegations of any wrongdoing, with him publicly tweeting as his official response to the lawsuit, quote unquote, "Enough is enough. For the last couple of years, I have sat silently and watched people try to assassinate my character, destroy my reputation, and my legacy. Sickening allegations have been made against me by individuals looking for a quick payday. Let me be absolutely clear. I did not do any of the awful things I am being alleged. I will fight for my name, my family, and for the truth." Beside that one tweet addressing the situation, Diddy hasn't really said much else about this on social media. Mostly just posting pictures of him and his family as, from what I infer at least, a sad attempt to somehow gain public sympathy. All the comments are, of course, turned off, so these posts really just seem to be a ploy for Diddy to remind people he's a family man, which somehow makes him less of an evil person. Diddy's LA and Miami mansion would soon get raided on Monday, March 25th, 2024 by the Department of Homeland Security that specifies in sex trafficking. Heavily armed teams of HSI agents swept over every inch of Diddy's homes, looking for potential captives, but even more so for any surveillance video footage. As I said earlier, it's been speculated that much of what went on in Diddy's parties were taped, so finding any concrete evidence like this would be very favorable for the prosecution. It's unclear on if any said type of evidence was found though. Diddy's 2 sons would also be detained during the raid, but no arrest would end up being made that day. Diddy's lawyer has since came out and chalked this up to be a mere witch hunt, claiming the level of force used to raid his defendant's home was totally apparent and unnecessary. Since the raid, Diddy has also came out with a video of him and his nephew listing out names of various A-list celebrities, telling them all to call him
Greg, Oprah, J-Lo, A-Rod, Will Smith, Alicia Keys. Look at this pretty hair. Black King God, dude. Justin Bieber. Kevin Hart. Mark Wahlberg. Snoop. Prince Montana. And a bunch of big surprises that I can't tell you. Because they're so big, sometimes they get busy and they forget that they committed to answering the phone and it's Easter.
And that's about it as of now, at least. Obviously, this is an ongoing case, so I'm sure much more is to arise in the upcoming months. If Diddy is found guilty, this spells more than just the end of his career. This will pretty much become his new legacy, overwriting any previous achievements. Which is honestly really sad. I really can't at all fathom how someone like this would be willing to risk throwing away their whole name and estate just to feel some temporary pleasure. But that's really neither here nor there. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Being a smaller creator myself, that really does help out a ton. You guys don't even know. Yeah, if you guys did enjoy, check out some of my previous uploads. I got another video on the way that I've been working on a little bit. Don't know when that's gonna come out, but stay posted for that. And yeah, other than that, have a good one, y'all.